All right, so thank you guys for being here. It feels good to get back to doing recruitment information sessions. This is something that we had kicked off, and we've been doing these for about a year and a half now. When coronavirus struck, we had to stop doing these, so we're glad to be back doing this with you. I know it's only an online version, but we hope to give you the same benefit with that, and that's interaction with firefighters and asking questions. One of the things we hope that you'll gain from this is some insight to this profession, a chance to interact with some of our presenters that are talking about it. We have a lot of tradition and culture, and it's really important. It can be a very lengthy process to become a firefighter, but hopefully you'll find that this PowerPoint is full of information. You have the ability to ask questions. We have a live audience that's going to also pose some questions to answer anything that you might have so you can be successful. So without further ado, let me dive into and introduce one of our presenters. We have Captain Larry Suburvey, and we have firefighter Colin Kennedy, who will be presenting to you today.
Thanks, Chief. So again, just to echo what Chief Bigler said, thank you all for being here. It's an important part of our job and our career to welcome new people to the organization and really hopefully provide information that leads you in the right direction as you begin to pursue this career. So this is the Phoenix Fire Department recruitment information session. You can see that's part of our mission statement there from the recruitment standpoint: family, culture, and tradition. And all of those are important to us. And the reason we talk so much about family is because we do live together every third day. So we celebrate birthdays together. We celebrate all of the holidays together. The family members of the people that are on the job will come down to the station at times to celebrate birthdays and stuff. So we're really passionate about the people that we hire because we live with them for such a long time period. We really talk a lot about the traditions of the fire department because knowing where we've been in the past helps us create a vision for the future, but also helps us keep those values that have helped make the fire service great. So as we go through this, please think about the questions that you have, and we'll give you all an opportunity to ask those questions at the end. So this is, again, one of the mottos from our recruitment standpoint is that we are seeking individuals to be part of a diverse team of professionals who provide the highest level of public safety and services. And that little line says a lot. And one of the most important lines that are in there are diversity. We don't care what your background is, where you're from. We represent all different parts of the city, from the north to the south. We go from far north Phoenix up towards the Anthem area, all the way down to Ahwatukee, from the Arcadia area out west, to Maryville, or to Arcadia out east to Maryville out west. So we look for diverse people. We look people with a lot of culture and a very diverse background, because when we show up on the scene, we want to be representative of the public that we're there to serve. So some of the things that it takes to be a firefighter, and these are just a few of the many personality traits that it takes. Somebody who's self-disciplined. There's nobody that's going to give you a wake-up call and tell you to get to work. We get to work a half hour to 45 minutes before our shift starts. We have to go through all of our equipment every single day. We work for 24 hours, so there are times that as a firefighter you may have 20, 25 calls in a shift, and you are expected to perform on the 25th call the same way you performed on your first call. So it takes a high level of discipline. It takes a high level of character for somebody to have this job. When you work as part of a 4-person team, depending on the truck, some of our trucks are 5-person team members. So your voice is not always going to be the loudest, but everybody brings something to the team. Everybody has their own experiences and their own expectations for what they want out of their crew each day, and we do that cohesively as a crew. There is a level of rank within a crew. We have the captain, who is the head of each 4-person crew, and then the engineer is the one that's driving, and you have 2 firefighters in the back. And then dedicated, that doesn't just mean dedicated to the profession, it means dedicated to the people that we serve. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're there to provide the highest level of service on somebody's worst day. And it takes a lot of character for somebody to be able to fit those. But those are the people that we're looking to hire. Physical fitness is something that will never go away throughout our entire career. And it's something that we talk about all the time. At this point in my career as a firefighter with 20 years, the way I work out now is drastically different than the way that I had to work out at the beginning. And somebody new on the job will have a completely different workout regimen, but we all have to perform at a high level when an incident comes in. And it's not just fire incidents. We've already talked a little bit about calls, 20 calls in a shift. So there are times that we have to deal with sleep deprivation, and flexibility becomes important. Mental health becomes important. So that fitness, it says physical fit, but I would want you to think of complete wellness in terms of what's your family dynamic like? What are the values that are personally important to you in terms of keeping yourself fit? We're going to go ahead and watch a quick video that just shows a little bit more about the fire department, and we'll play this video and then move on to the next slide.
This will be an execution.
Okay, this slide is one that really speaks a lot to me, and these are some of the myths and things that you'll hear when it comes to coming on the job. The first myth that's out there is that you have to know somebody in order to get hired. Just like anything else, the more connections you have, the better entrenched you are in an organization, the greater your chances are of getting hired. But I can speak for myself and Chief Bigler and Colin. We don't have any family on the job. We didn't have a long tradition of knowing people on the job. Everybody we met is because we were proactive. We went out and we sought people that would help us in this career field. So if you ever hear from somebody, this is the career path that you want to go, and they go, well, you have to know somebody to get hired. I just talked to a gentleman that I sold some stuff on OfferUp to, and he was, about my age, and he goes, oh, I tried to get hired 20 years ago, but I didn't know anybody. You have to know somebody. And I went, yeah, I didn't know anybody either, but I just went out and met them. So as you're pursuing this career, the more people that you talk to, the more people in a blue shirt, a white shirt, the cadets are great resources. People that work for other cities. It is your responsibility that if you want to come into this organization or the fire service as a whole, that's your responsibility to get to know these people. But you don't have to have this long list. You don't have to know the chief of Phoenix Fire Department in order to get hired. You need to have a family member. As I mentioned, I don't have one family member. Chief Bigler doesn't have one family member. Colin doesn't have family on the job. We paved our own path. I think like anything else, if you have family on the job, absolutely it helps, right? And I always use this example. If I was playing a pickup basketball game and somebody walked up and he said, hey, I'm LeBron James' son, I'm like, I'm picking that guy, right? I'm just going to assume that there are some things about him. So we definitely have that where we hire great people, and if you have a great person, you have the son or the cousin of a great person, you're going to assume that they have some of those values, but you don't have to have family on the job. You don't have to know anybody in order to get here. And I already mentioned diversity. We don't have a dynamic that we fit into, right? If we show up on somebody's worst day, we want to be able to mirror some of the values that person has. So we don't all look the same. And when Colin talks, you'll see that we don't all sound the same, right? But we are diverse because we have to represent a diverse community as well. I'm not going to read all the things about our history up there, but I would encourage you that if this is the career path that you want to come, that you take some time to learn a little bit about the Phoenix Fire Department history. One of the things that I think is the most interesting in our history is we talked about work ethic and we talked about dedication and service, is that the first paid fire chief started off in the organization as a custodian. So if you go back to the early 1900s, somebody that started off just working their tail off day to day as a custodian promoted his way to be the first paid fire chief of the organization. So what that should say to you is that when we talk already about history, is it doesn't matter where you come from or what you did. If you work hard, and that discipline was in there at the beginning, you work hard, you can achieve coming on this job, and you can achieve any rank level as you continue to work your way up. We'll talk, you'll see some stuff in this slide about the union as well. Most of the stuff that's in here we will cover as we continue to talk more about our demographics as well. So who we are now, you can see between civilian and firefighters, we have about 2,000 members that are part of our organization. We hold our civilian staff in very high esteem because they do a lot of the behind the scenes work. So you may be watching this and you go, I'm not sure I want to be a firefighter, but I know I would like to be part of Phoenix Fire Department. So our administrative personnel, we have mechanics specifically to us that work on our trucks. We have people that are down at our health center that are responsible for our physicals. We have people within fire prevention that go out and do building inspections to make sure that buildings are up to code. So there are a lot of other areas of Phoenix Fire Department in addition to just being a firefighter. We do work a traditional 24-on, 48-hour shift schedule with an A, B, and C shift, and we'll cover that as well. Really, the other thing I would like to highlight on here is this 187,000 emergencies annually. Well, that's the number of calls we go on, but that's not the number of vehicle responses we have. You can almost double that number when you look at it. So if you go on a fire, you're going to have the minimum 3 engines, a ladder, and a battalion chief that's going to go to that call. So that one call equals 5 vehicle responses that go as well. So when you look at 187,000 emergencies annual, we're closer to 350 to 400,000 truck responses from the 65 engines, 14 ladders, 3 squads, and 37 rescues that you see up there. Okay. This is our fire chief, Chief Kara Cockbrenner. One of the things that's really unique about Chief Cockbrenner is she's another person that started in our organization and to work her way up. She wasn't hired from an outside organization. She wasn't a chief somewhere else. She started as a probationary firefighter. At some point in her career, she started exactly where you all are at as well, where she was sitting there and someone told her about the job of becoming a firefighter. She started off as a probationary firefighter, went through the ranks of engineer, captain, battalion chief, division chief, assistant chief, and now the fire chief. So Chief Cockbrenner retires in about 2 years from now, but one of the great things about our history and our culture is that we have people that are training, that are ready to go when Chief Cockbrenner does decide to retire. So she leads the 2,000 member force. She's responsible for the civilian personnel, and she's responsible for the sworn personnel as well. I mentioned when we talked about our history that I would touch on our union a little bit. We do have, at this point, in terms of our sworn members, 100% of our sworn members are also union members. So that's something that we are very passionate about, because just like we talked about the unity of a 4-person crew, the unity of all of our members being union personnel as well, it has a lot to do with who we are as an organization. They make sure they're responsible for wages, for working conditions, and for benefits, and they are the ones that go to the city and help negotiate those benefits that we have. Right, so the 24 on, 48 off schedule. There were, if you go back years ago, the Phoenix Fire Department used to have 2 shifts, right? So it was 24 on, 24 off. So just now that seems crazy to us that we would even think about doing something like that. So that's just one of the many things that the union does for us. And we're actually going to watch a quick video on some of the services that they provide.
Station 22. Engine 22, Ladder Tender 22, Rescue 22.
I became a firefighter to serve the community. I love to run calls, and I love to make a difference for people who are in their time of need.
When we are on shift and we run our calls, we do get exposed to a lot of different things that not a lot of people get exposed to.
Drownings, shootings. We go on car wrecks, and we go on fires that tear through people's homes and through their businesses.
Getting to do this kind of work, charity work on our off days, kind of fills your heart back up and gives you a warm feeling to be able to meet the needs of the community.
And we understand what people have and don't have. Firefighter Charities is all about filling that gap and making a difference for people that may not otherwise be able to on their own.
We have actually 3,000 firefighters in our membership that all genuinely want to help the community. As soon as our 24 hours is up, we go home and we find other ways to get involved in our community, because that's part of our culture.
We serve the community on and off shift, and that includes raising money for local charities. One of my favorites is Target Christmas. Target Christmas is a program geared towards underprivileged children that without this program otherwise wouldn't have a Christmas. Last year we took over 100 children to Target. Each kid got a $100 gift card, and they get to go shopping with a firefighter or a couple firefighters. It's a really great opportunity to see these kids light up and be able to have a Christmas that they otherwise wouldn't have. After the children are done shopping and we get everything checked out at the cash registers, Santa comes on a truck. They're given gift baskets and have a really good time with Santa right before we head over across the street and have some lunch and play some games with them.
Another thing that we do is an event called Get Laid for Kenny. Every year we get everybody together, we get shirts made, we put Hawaiian lays on everybody, and we go out there in memory of Army Sergeant Kenny Shaw, who is aspiring to be a firefighter after he got back from his service in the military. Kenny was killed in action in Iraq, and every year we remember him and raise money to be able to do the things that we want to do in our community, as well as give to the Kenny Shaw Memorial Scholarship Fund. We've done a lot of different things, and one of the most significant things we've done is with MDA, our Field of Boot drive. That, over just the past 4 years alone, has done over $600,000 right back into our community with people struggling with muscle disease. We stand out in front of the grocery stores every year, we collect cash and different donations, and we give that 100% over to MDA of Arizona. And what they do with that is help kids battling muscle disease do everything from going to summer camp to getting the medical supplies that they need.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pass it over to firefighter Colin Kennedy. Colin works on Rescue 13. He's been on the job for about
3 years.
3 years now. So he's got a different perspective than I have as well. So he'll talk to you a little bit about the hiring process and some of those requirements.
Thank you. All right. Hi, guys. Again, my name is Colin Kennedy, firefighter paramedic with the City of Phoenix Fire Department. You'll instantly recognize my accent is not homegrown here in Arizona. So that goes back to that whole diversity aspect of the department, and that we don't hire just because your dad or your mom, whatever. So bear in mind that you can come from a different country and be successful. With that firefighter recruit application process, there are requirements to it. So if you're waiting until the test gets announced, it's probably too late, because you're going to be a year or so behind the rest of the folks, because we do have these requirements. You got to be 18 years old, EMT certified, which may take you 6 to 12 weeks depending on your program, and everything else that's up there is absolutely necessary. Without any of that, you simply will not get hired. So you need to make sure you're ticking those boxes and making sure that they're checked off and everything is in date. If you go a certain period of time over a certificate like your CPR, it's going to be out of date by the time your interview comes around. Too late, you might not get the opportunity. So make sure you've all your boxes checked before you go any further than that. At the bottom of that, if you have any questions about any of the items above, recruitment.pfd@phoenix.gov, send your questions there and we'll answer them. We'll get back to you and give you avenues in which you can achieve all of those check marks. A little bit about the actual benefits as a firefighter recruit. So as a firefighter recruit, you're here in the academy. You're out on the grinder from 6 a.m. till 3 or 4 p.m. in the afternoon. They're long, hot days, but you are getting paid while you're here. And the salaries are up there, and they are subject to change as time passes, but right now that's what we've got. You do get full medical and dental benefits. You earn vacation and sick leave monthly, and that begins from the day that you're hired as a Phoenix firefighter recruit. There is a uniform allowance as well that's in there, and it's hugely beneficial, and there is an avenue for you to go and order specific uniform items that you prefer and you like, but it's got to be compliant with the city. So just making sure that you spend your money wisely on that when it does come around once a year. The CPAT Candidate Physical Ability Test, it is the minimum requirement. There are your exercise you have to achieve. There is a video online that you can go and watch and check it out. That is the absolute bare minimum, right? If you can just about do that, you're probably not ready to go into the academy. But that is absolutely the baseline. If you're doing it well, you'll do it in 6-7 minutes. If you're not doing it so well, you're maybe failing. If you fail that, again, it's one of those requirements. You cannot make it into the Phoenix Fire Department. And that's a national test. It's set by the national standard. It's pretty simple. You have to get it done. 8 separate events, 10 minutes and 20 seconds is a time limit on that. You do wear gloves, helmet, and a 50-pound weighted vest throughout the entire event. All the equipment is provided for you from the agency that puts on the test. But again, if you struggle with that, you're going to have a really hard time in the academy, right? So become prepared. EMT, different links on the left-hand side here in the state of Arizona in which you can get your EMT cert. CPAT on the right-hand side, you've got Paradise Community College, National Testing Network, and the Great Ape Gym. Any of those colleges on the left or agencies on the right will absolutely help you out in becoming successful. You probably don't need to lift the fire truck to be on the fire department, but you do got to lift some tools. All right, we're talking 50 pounds, 60 pounds. That's on top of your gear that weighs about 75 pounds, and it's probably 110 degrees, and you're working on a car accident. You don't have time to get tired. You don't have time to worry about how hot you are. All you've got to do is get that person out of the vehicle. They're the tools you will use. And the effort and requirement of that is right now we need to go. Okay, if it's 2 a.m. in the morning or 2 p.m. in the afternoon, you got to be physically ready to do that. So a huge preparation is your physical fitness. All right, it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So be ready. The 4 major areas of fitness, you've got your flexibility, muscular endurance, cardiopulmonary endurance, and strength training. One of them is not more important than the other. You got to have them all if you want a long, healthy career. You don't want to end up in 10 years with a sore lower back and now you can't perform your job to the best of your abilities. And ultimately, then you're letting down the community which you've sworn to serve. Don't be like that. All right, stay healthy, stay strong, stay fit, look after yourself, and in turn, you're looking after the rest of the folks on your crew as well. The 6 steps to getting hired. You've got a written exam, the applicant eligibility test, oral board, background check, drug screening, and pre-academy. Again, if you miss one of those, you're not going to go into the academy. It's pretty simple. So make sure you have everything in line. You're ready for the written exam. You do get a packet that is available when the testing process is announced. You can study that packet. It will have 100 questions. 70 of those questions come directly from the packet. How much did you pay attention? What is your attention to detail? How much did you learn about the Phoenix Fire Department specifically in that packet? If you're lucky enough to get into the top 15, 20% or so, you'll get an oral board interview, and with that you'll sit down in front of firefighters and captains with the Phoenix Fire Department, and they will ask you a series of questions in which you get to demonstrate who you are as a person, what you're going to bring to the Phoenix Fire Department as a person, and how you're going to contribute and make the department better. And obviously as well for you, what benefits do you see on a personal level for becoming a Phoenix firefighter, and there's a lot of them. The written test, already went over that. We won't do that again. How to prepare for that, go back and look over the application or the packet that they will make available to you. At the bottom there, don't wing it, read it. You can go in there thinking you're good at aptitude tests. It's not an aptitude test, all right? It's a study guide, it's a study book. Study it, practice it. Make sure you score high, because if you do not score high, you may not get an interview. If you don't get an interview, you won't be at this academy, unfortunately. Eligibility test. If you pass that test, you'll be put on an eligibility list, and that list will last for a set period of time. Every year it's a little different depending on how many people we want to hire and how many people are retiring. We try and keep a one-for-one basis. Not always possible, but it's typically how it goes. Every 18 months to 2 years is kind of our standard. With the oral board interview, you've got 20 minutes to answer 4 questions or so. If you're successful, you will be notified. If you're unsuccessful, you will also be notified. Those emails are very, very different. All right, one is a happy day, one is not. Go back and try again next year. So become prepared. The second interview that comes after that, if you do become successful, you get a phone call from the chief, and that will be the happiest day of your life. And it really will be. Anybody who's been there will agree with me that that's a moment you will not forget, and you will not forget the conversation you had with the chief, and forever you will be indebted to them. I certainly know I was. Going back here to some of the questions that you can consider for an interview. Why do you want to be a firefighter? What preparation have you done for this career? Why should we hire you? And they're really big ones, because you have to impress upon people you've probably never met how you're going to benefit them and the organization, and you're going to bring value to what we already do. The city of Phoenix is a big place, but the department is pretty small, so you got to make sure your reputation is strong and you uphold that throughout your entire career. Tips with that: you can participate in mock orals, you can sit in a hot seat, and you can keep an organized notebook. So if you're working with other candidates who are trying to get hired, practice with one another, ask each other questions, critique one another fairly. And if somebody does well, awesome, great job. But if they make a mistake, they kind of slip up, they talk about a topic that maybe they shouldn't, or they didn't really have the knowledge to go in depth on that topic, well, let's practice, let's help one another, because ultimately the people that you help to get hired will help you later on in your career as well, because you're going to sit next to them in the back seat of a fire truck, and who knows, they might be sitting behind you, or better still, they'll be your captain leading you on a fire call. Criminal background, it kind of goes without saying that this is really important for us. You're in people's homes in all hours of the day, all hours of the night, and it might be one person who's laying there unconscious. Our department, our city, the public, they need to know that we can trust you to do the right thing every single time. We need people that are accountable, dependable, and that ultimately we know that they will do the right thing because it's simply the right thing to do. All right, so making sure that your background is clear and clean, and your driving license is so. You're driving city vehicles on a regular basis, you got to make sure that you maintain an active, valid driver's license. Drug screening, absolutely zero tolerance. Just don't do it. It's as simple as that. It's against city policy, state policy, federal policy. Don't be involved in that. That's not who we're looking for. We're looking for folks who are trying to do the right thing every single time. If you're successful enough through all of that, you pass all of those tests and requirements, you go into a pre-academy. Candidates are encouraged to attend the pre-academy sessions. Basically, it's an opportunity for you to get a rehearsal to what the actual fire academy will be like. You'll have peer fitness trainers there who are currently firefighters with the City of Phoenix, and they will come and set you through workouts, skills courses with gear on, and kind of set you up for success in the academy. If you roll into the pre-academy unprepared, you're going to have a really hard time. So again, it's being as prepared as possible right now, today, as if your academy starts tomorrow. Don't wait to be prepared, because it will never happen. There'll be some of the hardest workouts you'll ever done, and you'll think you're prepared coming in, and you won't, and there's folks out there who will push you to the depths that you've never seen before. But if you're on a fire call at 4 in the morning and Mrs. Smith is standing in the top window and she needs your help, you can't be tired, you can't be afraid. You got to know that you're ready, you're capable, and you're willing to go and do what you got to do. The candidate practice skills course, hands-on experience with PPE, and then it is a accredited course through Paradise Valley Community College. So you do actually get some credits for a college with that. As a firefighter, you go on probation. Every 3 months, you'll rotate stations. Right now, you'll do an engine, and a ladder, not necessarily in that order. Engine functions are much different than ladder functions. Everybody thinks that what they do is best, but you'll find your niche. You'll figure out what you do best. You'll figure out if you like playing with saws and hand tools, or if you want to be on the nozzle to put out the fire like a real hero. But you must attend and continue education classes with the Phoenix Fire Training Academy. Right? It's pretty simple. As you get in there, there's constant training. Even while you're on probation, you will come back down to the training academy. They'll go through additional training with you, whether that's ladder training or engine, or PPE, how to don and doff your equipment so that we're protecting ourselves and those around us as best as possible, and ultimately making you more capable and prepared to go out and be a senior fireman, or a firefighter, I should say. Compensation changes. So now we've gotten a bit of a pay raise here. $48,000 to $68,000 a year, not bad. And of course, with that, as you progress in your career, the more experience you get, seniority, that pay can increase, and you can add certificates to that, whether you become a paramedic or other assignments, specialty assignments such as technical rescue, hazmat, and ARF. And eligibility in the Phoenix Fire Department, some of it depends on seniority. Engineer promotion at 3 years is eligible, captain promotion at 7. It doesn't mean you're ready, but you're eligible. All right? You should be starting to think about those things years in advance. Don't wait till the time. Again, be ready to go. Don't be waiting to be prepared. The benefits, I mean, these are really fought for us by the city, sure, but by our union. There's no question in saying that our union has provided us with incredible facilities, equipment, gear. Our benefits are, I mean, there's many of them. It's not often that you see a retirement plan anymore, and we still have it here with the City of Phoenix, so it's something to be very proud of that the union, the Local 493, has worked toward that for us, and they continue to do that. You've got medical, dental, vision, life insurance, sick leave, vacation time, 12 paid holidays per year, you've deferred compensation plan, again, you got a retirement. It just goes on, it really does. This job gives you a heck of a lot back, but we really want everything from you. Right? There's a plaque out here in the training academy that says we're not asking for everything you've got, we're asking for more. Right? You got to just give everything to this department. If you're lucky enough to get hired, you got to come back and do stuff like this, because this is what you're committing yourself to. It's a career, not just a job. This becomes who you are, not what you are. Okay. A firefighter's schedule. We work 24 on, 48 off. So for me, I was on shift yesterday, so I get the next 2 days off, and I'm going to go home and enjoy them. And then I'll come back rested, ready to go again. Last week I had 2 shifts off, and I felt like I got nothing to do. It was time to go back to work. I'm on the job 3 years, not a long time, but it's long enough to know that you really, truly do miss the job when you're not here. And you'll speak to folks who are retired after 32 years of service, and they'll still wish that they were still on the job. It's that type of career. The national average for an American citizen is 4 years at one employer. A Phoenix firefighter will last 25 years, up to 37 or 40 years. Right? That shows what we have as a department, what people recognize and respect, and what you would be giving up if you were to go somewhere else. So once you get this job, you hold on to it with both hands. You do not let go, allow anyone to take it away from you. So stay committed, stay prepared, stay ready, and make sure that you recognize that this is the best job in the world.
Paramedic 231, Kidda Gate. Line department, yeah. Sorry, that is the second last one. 041. Copy.
Every morning at 7:30 a.m. all across the valley, the men and women of the Phoenix Fire Department are getting ready for their day.
Yeah, they'll check the lights, sirens. They'll make sure that on this that the outriggers come out so they can set the ladder up. We start everything up every morning, make sure it runs okay.
Got a bunch of good guys, and they come in there and they're self-disciplined, self-motivated, and they get the station ready for the day and just make sure everybody gets their stuff, they're prepared to go on that call.
So we try to keep it clean. You know, that's why we do our station duties in the morning. We clean the bathrooms, we clean the kitchen, that kind of thing. Same thing with the bay. This is kind of my area out here. I mop the floors or whatever.
We're 115 feet in the air, and over off there in the distance is you guys.
Hey kids!
Hey.
We're going to make chicken salad sandwiches and enchiladas.
He's got a knack for the camera.
There we go.
Welcome to the Phoenix Fire Training Academy. This is where all our recruits come through and get trained. We're going to show you one of our new state-of-the-art training buildings. The building where we can have simulated fires, simulate search and rescue, simulate fire attack. Once they come through, they encounter smoke, heat. We have props that are gas-fed. We also have this is what we consider a rescue dummy. This represents about 100, 125 pounds. We simulate dragging it out as if it were a victim.
What we're doing right now is we're going to set up a vehicle scenario of an auto accident. What we're trying to do is cause the vehicle's doors not to open. We want to deform some of the vehicle, make it a little bit tougher for our firefighter to open up and move patients.
Great things about this career is that you try to work with your friends. Everybody gets along here, everybody's family oriented. You help other people and when they call you. So that's the ultimate goal, and I think we've accomplished that here in Engine 9 and Station 9.
So we we do have a number of different avenues, even within Phoenix Fire Department, that you can continue to pursue. So one of the great things about our career field is that it's not just being a firefighter, showing up for your 24 hours and then being off for 2 days. You have a lot of different career paths. Colin talked a little bit about being a paramedic. We do have 2 paramedics on every single one of our units, including ladders now. We're that progressive. FEMA as well. So we have a FEMA team where they deploy. There's been hurricanes each of the last few seasons. We have a FEMA team that's deploying now. And so they go to help with disaster relief across the country. In order to get on that FEMA team, you have to go through technical rescue training, and then you have to apply to that as well. It's additional training that you go on throughout your career. So you have the potential as a Phoenix firefighter to go to North Carolina, Texas, Florida, all these other places around the country that have these natural disasters. If there was an earthquake in California, we have people that respond to those things. I mentioned our technical rescue team. So you'll watch the news, you'll see mountain rescues in Phoenix. We run more mountain rescues than any department across the country. Camelback Mountain, South Mountain, Piestewa Peak. We have crews that are out there almost daily running technical rescue calls. R stands for Aircraft Rescue Firefighting. So out at Sky Harbor Airport, we have Station 19 that's out there. There are a number of what are called foam trucks, but crash firefighting vehicles, and we have members that are specialized training in that. The hazmat team, we work as part of a regional hazmat team. Phoenix has a number of stations that are hazmat stations and hazmat personnel, but it's another neat thing about our career where when you go to hazmat training, you'll work with members from Goodyear and from Scottsdale and Mesa, but it's a regional asset. So we work together with all of these different agencies, because when you have one of these suits on, you can't see the name on the back of the person's shirt. They're just going in there to mitigate whatever the hazard is. We have a car seat program. That's another one of our great resources. Another thing I'd have up there as well is baby shots. So we're constantly looking at ways to give back to our community. Honor Guard, all of our funerals, all of those types of services, retirement services are performed by the Honor Guard. They also work with the police department, Honor Guard, and then Public Information Officer. Those are our firefighters that get information out to the media about incidents that we have going on. And we'll talk a little bit more at the end about different ways to follow us to see some of the stuff that the PIOs are putting out there. So that's a question that comes up at this point is, okay, well, now you have my interest. I feel like it's something that I want to do. How do I get involved? So we're going to look at a number of different avenues that we have for you to get involved with the fire department. One of a great one that's out there is the Phoenix Fire Cadets, and we have some of the cadets that are here in the audience today. The cadets do an amazing job. They are a volunteer force, but they wear shirts that say Phoenix Fire Department on the back. And we talked a lot about sometimes the public doesn't know everything that we do. So they have to carry themselves as a Phoenix firefighter in and out of that uniform. Once you join this organization, you are part of this organization. The way you represent yourself on social media, the way you represent yourself around the family, and the cadets, even though they're not paid, they're a volunteer force, they're already starting to live those values. They show up at things like this, but they help out with the cadets when they help out with the recruits when they're in the academy. They're out there working, loading, putting up hose. When we have city events, a lot of times we'll see the cadets here. When we have funeral services, the cadets will be in the parking lot helping to direct those things. They show up every Saturday, and they try to perfect their skills. The cadets are a great avenue that if you're looking to come into to be a paid member of the fire department, it's one of the first things that I would recommend to somebody to do. We have a number of affinity groups. The affinity groups are just diverse groups. They're really 501c3 organizations that volunteer out in the community, and we have a number of them. We have Firefighters for Christ. We have United Black Firefighters, the Women's Firefighter Society. We have the Emerald Society, the Valley Hispanic Bomberos. Am I missing any of them? And so all of those affinity groups are fantastic. I'm sorry, did I miss? Oh, that's right. I can't believe Fire Vets. I'm a vet. I probably shouldn't forget that one. Fire Vets is another one. All those names of those different affinity groups, that just means that that's where they do the majority of their charity work. So if you're not a veteran, you can still become a part of Fire Vets. If you're not Hispanic, you can still be part of Valley Hispanic Bomberos. But as 501c3 organizations, they focus their charity and where they give back into certain communities. They're a great way to get hired. A lot of the members that are on there are paid firefighters, people that already work for not just the city of Phoenix, but for other cities, and they help mentor people that are trying to come on the job as well. Again, a great way to get involved, and you don't have to belong to just one affinity group. You can belong to multiple affinity groups. So if you're really looking at the best way, and we talked earlier about you don't have to know somebody. Well, this is a great way to get to know people, right? If you don't have family on the job or you don't have a long history in the fire service, then it's your responsibility to do some of that stuff. The cadets and the affinity groups are a great way to do that. We have a crisis response team. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then we have some slides for ride along and some of the other classes that are there, peer fitness. So we'll talk about that. So I mentioned the cadets already. Here's some of the minimum things you have to do. You have to be at least 18 years of age. They don't have, there used to be, I think 25 used to be the max cutoff to be a cadet. Now we don't have that upper level anymore. So cadets, am I incorrect on that? There's no top age anymore, right? So 18 years of age and older, you go through an application process. There is an interview. They will do a background check because, like I said, we talked about firefighters having to have background checks. These members wear Phoenix Fire Department on the back of their shirt. So we do that for them as well. And they have to have a driver's license because they'll drive City of Phoenix vehicles. Here's the list of the affinity groups, that I mentioned already. And then the crisis response team, I told you I would give you more information about. So I work at a station where we see our crisis response team. It's called the CR van. We see them fairly frequently. They come into Station 25 quite a bit. I jokingly say that the CR van is who firefighters call when we have to call 911 because they deal with really the worst of the worst at times. So people that have been displaced after a fire, we show up, we put the fire out, we try to protect as much as their belongings and gather that stuff we can. But when it comes to where they sleep at night, how many people are going to be displaced, setting them up with American Red Cross hotels, getting them food, shelter, getting them clothes, the crisis response team is the group that does that. After we have a fatality, whether it's from a car accident, whether it's a child fatality, we contact the crisis response team. They have a counselor that shows up on there. There's also another EMT. They show up and they manage that call and help make notifications. They can help make funeral arrangements for those people. So they do amazing work for the fire department. It's an all volunteer force as well. They'll help with car seats. They'll get people to the hospital if they don't have a ride there, after a fatality. They really are just there to support the family or support the members of the community after a tragedy. They do an amazing job. Another great way to get involved is to volunteer there, okay? Ride-alongs. So I know a lot of you that are here have done ride-alongs or been on ride-alongs. Currently, for Phoenix Fire Department, we are not doing civilian ride-alongs. We will have that information posted on the website once we start doing those again, and that's secondary to the coronavirus. So we don't currently have that. Once that's lifted, we really encourage you to get involved and do ride-alongs. And one of the great things about that is that it gives you a firsthand look of what the day-to-day operations look like. There are a lot of things that we think that we know about the job of a firefighter, but until you're actually there and you're at a station, you see how the crews interact together, you see how an engine and a ladder work together, you see what their daily routine is like, how they check out their equipment, what their physical fitness routine is like, how they eat together, all of those different things, what it's like to run a call. You see that stuff on ride-alongs. One of the things that's important to remember is that a ride-along is always at the discretion of the crew that's there. So they don't have to guarantee it. There are some stations that just prefer not to have ride-alongs because they're so incredibly busy. Also, if you're on a ride-along, we still have, in terms of the areas that we go into, for your own safety, you're not trained, they may keep you on the outside of an incident. You're never going to go into a fire when you're on a ride-along, right? But if we go into a scene where, PD has said the scene is safe, but we're going on scene of a shooting, there may be times or incidents where if you're a rider on that, you may not be able to go into that scene. If you go on a ride-along, there is certain etiquette. You're going to be encouraged to ask a lot of questions. The way that you have to dress in terms of not having sandals on, having closed-toed shoes on, having pants on, having a nice plain-looking collared shirt on, are all things that are going to be important. And again, you'll be able to do this, get some of this information when you prepare to ride with the crew. One of the things that we're encouraging everybody to do, so if you know other people that are interested in this career, is that they come to a recruitment information session prior to contacting a fire station to go on a ride-along, just because we know that we'll cover a lot of the information that they'll get there. Also, we encourage people to not ride with just one crew. If this is a career path that you want, if you're like, hey, I will only ride at Station 25 on A shift because that's where I want to work one day, well, then you're probably not the applicant that we're looking for, because we're looking for people that are dedicated to City of Phoenix on the back, not to A shift, Phoenix Fire Station, whatever, okay? You don't know where you will end up in your career. We talked about we have almost 1,700 sworn members, and we work all over the city, and that's part of your responsibility. This slide is a great slide that kind of gives a recap of a lot of the things that we've covered. So a number of the things that Colin and I have spoken about are already up there. So I tell you to look at those things and really do your research and find out as much as you can about the career field. The wellness of our members is incredibly important to us, and one of your greatest tools for wellness is really understanding what you're getting into as you prepare for this. We say all the time, it's almost like a full-time job to get yourself hired because of the amount of work that you have to have. Every time you show up to do anything when you're trying to pursue this career, show up with a great attitude. And I should say, not just show up with a great attitude, but that should be who you are at your core as a person, is that you're somebody that's passionate about helping other people. And so there's a lot of volunteer work that goes in on the front end. The members that are here today, the firefighters that are here today, are all here volunteering our time 20 years into the career because we're so passionate about what we do and passionate about this career field. So, these things in terms of who you are as a person, I know we've touched on a number of them. I would tell you to review that. Again, this slide is intended to be a checklist. This is a great one to print out for yourself and to look at as you're going through and start checking off the things that have you done these along the way. Do you have your CPAT? Have you taken your EMT class? You will learn a lot of information in your EMT class about the hiring process. Phoenix Fire Department does not endorse any EMT program or any CPAT. It doesn't matter which one you get to, as long as you get certified and you hold a certification. That's what we care about. Attending meetings, getting involved with people, attending ride-alongs. And again, this is just a checklist for you to look at for things that you can do to put yourself in the best situation to get hired. One of the last things I'd like to cover is really following us on social media. So I know that most of you will have some form of social media. A lot of the stuff we duplicate across the social media. Generally speaking, we will use Twitter more to make announcements about road closures and active incidents. Instagram and Facebook. Facebook will have a little bit more in depth on certain incidents, fire calls. We may put more information. And Instagram, we kind of get just a general recap of some of the incidents that are happening out there. I would encourage you, whatever forms of social media that you have, that you follow Phoenix Fire Department on there. I would also encourage you not just to follow Phoenix Fire Department, but most of the affinity groups have Instagram and Facebook pages as well. And the same with the cadets. So I would, again, we had that list of all of the affinity groups. Follow every single one of them. Any place that you can get information from, Local 493, the union has a public Facebook page as well. Any of those places that you can get information if you're pursuing this career is a great resource. If you have questions that we don't answer today, so for the audience that's watching this online, the email recruitment.pfd@phoenix.gov. Any question that we do not answer, that mailbox is monitored frequently, so anything that you have, we will absolutely get back to you. We want to make sure that you have all of the information that you need as you pursue this career. At this time, Colin and I will go ahead and we will take any questions that we have. So does anybody have questions from the audience? That's a slang term that we use, which is really, we say for this career, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So you have to put yourself in that position of, hey, I'm practicing my interviews. I'm on a ride along as the new person, and it feels a little awkward. Being on the hot seat just means that you have that pressure on you. We call it the hot seat because you start sweating, your armpits are sweating, you feel your temperature goes up. So that's just a slang term that you'll hear not just within Phoenix Fire Department, but the fire service and EMT as well. Good question.
Just on that also with the hot seat, some of the affinity groups would refer to the hot seat as interview practice question time. So you'd step up in front of 15 or 20 of your peers who are all trying to get hired, and you're on show, you're in that hot seat, and you get to answer those questions in front of people. And that can be daunting for a lot of folks, but practice makes perfect. And public speaking is something that, unfortunately, not everybody's very good at or wants to do, but you got to present yourself very, very well when the time comes in that interview. So the hot seat is also referred to as that. So I personally did not take the Firefighter 1 and 2. However, had I have not been successful in the process that I was, I would have gone and done it. I think it allows you to be more confident going into your interview. It allows you to be more confident when you actually make it to the academy, because you will have done a lot of the skills and you will have worn turnouts. But it is not a requirement. I didn't do it personally, and I'm standing here in a blue shirt. So it's not required, but I think it's hugely beneficial if you can do it.
And I would give the perspective from a recruit training officer. I've been down here for a couple classes. Really, like Colin said, it's not required, but you really have a 16-week college course of Fire 1 and 2 that teaches you a lot about what we're going to teach you down here. So it just really gives you a head start. So when you come down to the academy, it's not your first time, you know, working on your hose lays or how to get water out of a fire hydrant, because you've done that through Fire 1 and 2. So I strongly encourage people to take it. I also did not have Fire 1 and 2. However, I was in the Air Force and was a firefighter in the Air Force, so I had done some of those things as well. Good question. Yes? The day you're born, right? We talk about fitness as a lifelong commitment and the way that you should always conduct yourself. And it's not just physical fitness, it's the mental fitness and mental wellness as well, spiritual fitness, all of those things that make you healthy to get through this career. We never know when we're going to have what we call the big one. We never know when it's going to be one of the most challenging days for us on the job. The academy, and I know Colin mentioned this, the pre-academy, you don't come to those things to get in shape. You should come into those things in the best shape that you've ever been in. The people that don't make it through the academy, overwhelmingly, it's a physical fitness issue, and it's because they're not in good enough shape when they come in. It's a good question. Like anything else, the more experience you have with something, the easier it's going to be when you're actually doing it when it matters. But just like we talked with Fire 1 and 2, you don't have to be an expert on a chainsaw. We're going to teach you everything that you need to know about a chainsaw, but you're expected to perform at peak level as you go through the academy. So if you're somebody that's worked a lot with hand tools, you have a construction background, you've done those things before and you're comfortable with the tools that we use, it's going to make your job easier when you go through the academy, but it's not a requirement in order for us to hire you. I would encourage you, I mentioned social media at the end, to reach out through social media. I think that's the quickest way to contact any of those groups. The cadet information is on there, it was in this slide as well. I'm a big fan of the cadets because I see what being down here at the academy, I've seen the incredible work that they do. And then all of the affinity groups are great. Some of the greatest friends I have on the department run each of the affinity groups. So I think those are the two best ways. And what happens is, it's like anything else. Once you start networking, you just cast this wide web, and one opportunity leads to another opportunity.
So you're still able to apply. There is a certain point limit in which you can have on your driver's license right now. I won't quote it because I don't know, but the information is available on the City of Phoenix website. You shouldn't have any points in your license, right? But some are allowed depending on the reason and the cause. We would prefer that you didn't, but again, it doesn't disqualify you unless you go over a certain amount. But the City of Phoenix website will have the accurate information at this time.
There are things that automatically disqualify you for a time period. If you have a DUI, I believe it's in the past 5 years, that's going to be disqualifying. If you have a suspended or revoked driver's license, that will disqualify you. At 8 points, your driver's license is suspended. So generically speaking, we'll say like, hey, at 8 points, that's how many points, but that's because then you would not have a valid driver's license at that point. So if you're not going to follow them on social media, then I would just generically, again, we're not endorsing Google, but I would say do a web search. All of their information is available online. So no matter which one you put in, Valley Hispanic Bomberos, and I would add Phoenix Fire Department on the end just because those search engines are going to grab more of those terms. I think that's a great resource as well. Another area that you could look at to get that information would be phoenix.gov. It has the job description of a firefighter, the things that we've covered today, and it's also going to have links to all of those affinity groups. Yeah, so if you have a valid EMT card and you have your national registry, there's a couple different things to look at. If you have, say you're from Wisconsin and you only have a state of Wisconsin card, the state of Arizona is not going to give you reciprocity for that. If you have your Wisconsin certification, but you also have your national certification, then when you come to Arizona, you have to apply. You have to show residency here. Then you have to apply for your Arizona EMT certification as well. It's a really simple form that you fill out online. You submit all of your paperwork. You may end up getting a phone call. More than likely, it's going to be an email for you to complete that application process. But that's important to know. You do not have to have an Arizona EMT card when you start. You do have to have an Arizona EMT card when you get to your first interview. So in order to take the test, you don't have to have it, by the time that you get through through the process and you get to your first interview, you have to have it. But we welcome people from across the country. We've had people from every state come to Phoenix Fire Department.
Unfortunately, the written exam is the written exam. Whatever your struggles are, you're going to seek out some help with that. Some of the affinity groups do offer information nights and practice sessions on some of the questions that come in the paperwork or the packet. There are online aptitude tests that you can do. Earlier I said it's not an aptitude test, but there is a portion of that 100 questions which ultimately is aptitude. It's basic math and reading comprehension. So you can practice some of it, but for a lot of it, those 70 questions are in that packet. So if you can just memorize certain things and learn what we require from a person in their behavior, their dignity and integrity, all the positive aspects that a person can have in their traits, that's what we really want. But I would seek some online assistance, or if you want to get a tutor, that's also an option too to help you out, because that is a hurdle for some people, but you can overcome that.
And I would keep in mind that there's going to be 1,500 to 2,000 people that are taking the written exam for us to hire 50 people. So I would say if you struggle with any part of the exam, it's your responsibility as a candidate to be better at that. And I would say, like, as an instructor at the college level, I said, if I gave you a test and I said, hey, what does LOL stand for, right? You're going to answer that question because you have the knowledge. So if you struggle in the written exam, then it's your responsibility. If you've got to read that packet 30 times to know the information, then you read that packet 30 times because you're competing against those other 2,000 people that are there, and you have to put yourself in a situation to have one of the top test scores. So a lot of it is just, one of the first slides said dedication, right? Self-discipline. A lot of it comes down to dedication and self-discipline. The eligibility test really depends. So we look at whether or not we're going to test annually or are we going to test every 2 years. We typically hire multiple classes off of one exam. The exam is first based on how well you did on the written exam, and we touched on that a little bit. So we take the top 200, and that's a general number. We take the top 200 written test scores, and those 200 people will go to a first interview, and then they will go to a second interview. But you could get a phone call. We just hired for a class a year and a half after they took their written exam. So you could get a phone call as long as that test is considered eligible, which for the city of Phoenix, the max a list can go is for 2 years. So in theory, it could be 2 years after you first took the written exam that you could get called for your interview, okay? Generally speaking, we test every year, but sometimes it's every 2 years.
So that's going to be a responsibility for yourself. Pay attention to social media sites, go to phoenix.gov. If you're involved in the affinity groups, those guys are going to have some good information for you and let you know when the upcoming test is. They're made aware of that pretty promptly when it does come out. But keeping your ear on the ground, listening to what's going on. And if you're still involved, you'll find out about it. If you're sitting back on your couch waiting for it, it might come and go. So stay involved is the best way to continue to learn, to be aware.
And keep in mind, when we test, there's an application period. So you'll only have a week to 2 weeks. Once that application period opens, you apply online. If you miss that application period, I think our last test is, like I said, it's been about a year and a half. You could be waiting 2 years until the next application period. One of the best ways to do that is by networking. So the more people that you know, the affinity groups, the cadet programs, all of those things that are out there, when there's a test and you're involved in those things, everybody knows that there's a test. I would encourage you to do your application on the first day, right? And I would be so paranoid about it, I would do it the first day and then I would look on the second day to make sure that I submitted my application. Good question. That we have a number of skills that we have to perform. The question was, what is a skills course? We have a number of skills that we have to perform as firefighters. What a lot of the affinity groups will do, in the pre-academy you will do it, and then the cadets as well, as we practice those skills in kind of like a free-for-all event. So we'll drag tires, which mimic dragging hose, swing sledgehammers, go up and down the towers, raise ladders, carry tools, carry saws, work with axes. The skills course is a generic name for us to perform all of the different skills that we perform fully turned out with our bottles on. And it doesn't matter if it's 110 degrees out, It doesn't matter if it's a torrential downpour and it's raining. We have to train in the conditions that we are expected to work in. So at the academy, we perform skills courses a couple days a week. In the morning, the cadets, cadets every Saturday do skills courses. Most of the affinity groups will have times that they get together with their personnel and do a skills course. We mentioned the APE gym. The APE gym will send you through skills courses, but a lot of it honestly is self-discipline. So we encourage people, get the weighted vest, purchase the tools. If you don't know how to swing a sledgehammer, go purchase a sledgehammer, grab a tire, and start swinging a sledgehammer to learn your technique. So you can do a lot of that stuff at home. You don't have to be involved in order to do that.
For me, it's honestly the people that I work with, and then when I go to bed at nighttime, I know I did a good job for the city and the country that I live in now. I'm incredibly proud to say I'm a U.S. citizen, very happy with my heritage, being from Ireland, but to be here now, to be able to provide the service that I do with the Phoenix Fire Department, this isn't a made-up answer, it's legitimate. Every single day I get that opportunity with 10, 15 people to make a difference. And if that's making a difference with my crew, to make sure that they're safe, and that we as a crew go home tomorrow to our families, that's awesome. But also being able to provide that service to Mrs. Smith or Mr. Smith, for me, it's an incredible opportunity for me to get better as a person and to provide a service to the people, and that's no fluff.
And for me, I don't ever remember a time in my life that I didn't want to be a firefighter, and then Phoenix just ended up being the perfect fit. I got stationed out here, and I was a military brat, so I fell in love with the Valley, and I'm not exaggerating when I say there's still days that I pull my uniform out and it says Phoenix Fire Department on the back, and I go, I get to go work for Phoenix Fire Department. Doing a pre-fire plan, walking down the middle of the tunnel, right? I remember walking down the middle of the tunnel going, I can't believe I get to walk there in the middle of the tunnel. You know how many times I've driven through this tunnel? And so there's so many things that the people that we work with, the people that we get to serve, the time that at the end of the day you look around and you know that you helped somebody, that you know that you made a difference, and then you get to go home and you're still providing for your family. So it's a way to really have the best of everything. And I would, selfishly, the people that I would love to see us hire are people that feel the same way, that you are passionate about coming to have a career. We say all the time, I didn't go to work a day in my life because I had a career that I was passionate about. Generally speaking, our pension system, the public safety retirement system, is 25 years. So you have to work as a firefighter within that system. If you worked for 5 years for another department that's in the system, those 5 years would count. But if you have no experience and you're coming in, it's going to be 25 years. Now, we have people that work, Colin mentioned it, we have people that work that stay 30, 35 years. And so you can go above that 25 years as well. But in order to receive a pension, that would be the minimum. If we do have, at times we have people that leave early, and then they get a very small percentage of the payout, but in terms of a defined benefit, that's the answer.
No, you might not think it, but I'm not 22 years old. I'm 36. I got hired about 3 years ago. So going back to some of the requirements, there isn't an age cap, there is an age minimum. You got to be 18. There was guys in my class that were in their early 40s and they were successful. A lot of it is going to come down to what you've done through the rest of your life and how much you're willing to devote and prepare yourself to become a Phoenix firefighter. And if you're willing to do everything that it takes, then you'll be just fine. With that, also, again, I'm not a U.S. born citizen. I'm a white guy. We've got diversity throughout the entire station at my station. I've got an African American, Hispanic gentleman, a white foreign guy. We take everybody who's willing to do the job well, and that's the most important thing.
If you come on the job at 40 years old, at a minimum you would be 65 years old when you're retiring. So what I would say is it's up to the individual. Our requirements and our expectations for what we have to provide to the public does not change. So what I have to do as a 45-year-old with 20 plus years on the job at this point, the way I have to keep myself healthy is drastically different than what I did when I was 25 years old. So the age isn't as important as the individual person and their physical fitness level, their mental fitness level, and the way that they take care of themselves. As an RTO down here, we had people in each of the academy classes I was with that were in their late 30s or early 40s that were just coming new to the career. If they can physically do the career, then they've earned a position to be here. If you have any questions about anything that's in your history, I would encourage you to go to phoenix.gov. You contact the city HR department, and you can, because we don't want you to come into a station and go, hey, this is everything that I've done, because it's really none of our business. So some of that information is protected. So you can go through phoenix.gov, get to city HR, and you can let them know what you have in your criminal background, and they'll let you know whether or not that disqualifies you. In terms of who does the criminal background check, you don't do that on your own. Once you get the phone call saying that we would like to hire you, a lot of people think that that phone call is it, that now I'm a Phoenix firefighter. That phone call just means that you get to continue in the process, which includes your actual physical that you go down with the doctors at our health center, and it includes the criminal background check. So the city of Phoenix, the fire department, will take care of that criminal background check, but I would really encourage people to be proactive. If you have anything at all in your criminal background, even if it's a misdemeanor, just go to phoenix.gov, contact city HR. You don't want to get all the way through that process and then find out that you're not eligible. We actually have a program now through Vincier Cancer Center where firefighters can go and get cancer screening. Cancer is one of the big concerns for firefighters as we move forward. Our most important resource is not the trucks, it's not the tools. Our most important resource are the people that work for Phoenix Fire Department, civilian and sworn members, and how we take care of each other. So we have a very proactive union, a very proactive department that have put together an amazing program for us to go and get that cancer screening. We have firefighters that have died in the line of duty for Phoenix Fire Department, a number of fire departments across the valley and the country that have succumbed to cancer from things that are job related. We want to take care of our members, and so we have that cancer screening as well. And you also will have an annual physical. So every year you will go and have a physical at our health center with our doctors. That includes a cardiac treadmill test, includes a pulmonary function test, vision, eye exam, and you look at all that stuff through the course of your career, and they track it for you. Right? We have our own doctors, PAs, and nursing staff that work specifically for a Phoenix Fire Department. Okay. Again, thank you all for being here and being part of the recruitment information session. Thank you for the questions and for being involved. If you have further questions, that email that was up there, recruitment.pfd@phoenix.gov, is where you can go to send any of that information. Thank you.